All right, so have you ever thought about how words are kind of like those little treasure chests? You open them up and
Yeah.
boom,
Uh-huh.
history, culture,
Yeah.
maybe even a good chuckle spills out.
Oh, it's remarkable, isn't it? It really is
Yeah.
how much weight a single word
Oh, yeah.
or a phrase can actually carry,
Yeah.
especially in a language like English that's constantly evolving and absorbing influence.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Absolutely.
We've got 4 English words and phrases
Okay.
that I bet you've encountered before, but maybe haven't fully appreciated, and they come from our source material.
Yeah.
Episode 66, Unlocking English from Peckish to Bandwagon, Unveiling Words and Phrases.pdf.
The goal is to help you walk away with a richer understanding of how these seemingly simple words
Right.
add nuance and color to our communication.
Absolutely. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's set the scene. Imagine you're trapped in one of those endless meetings, the kind where the clock seems to be moving in slow motion,
Yeah.
and suddenly it hits you. That little rumble in your stomach,
Mm.
that's not quite, I need a 3-course meal, but more like, ooh, a biscuit would be lovely right about now.
Mm-hmm.
That's where peckish comes in.
Peckish. I love that word.
Yeah,
It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
it does.
It's so quintessentially British.
It is.
Conveying this certain politeness,
Yeah.
almost an understatement when it comes to hunger.
Right, like you wouldn't want to interrupt the meeting with a full-blown, I'm starving declaration, would you?
Exactly. Peckish allows you to express a need without being overly demanding.
Right.
And the beauty of it is that the origin itself paints such a vivid picture.
Okay.
Think of a bird gently pecking at seeds.
Okay.
It's not this ravenous attack, but a very delicate and measured way of satisfying a craving.
Oh, that's so insightful. It's like the word itself embodies a gentle approach to hunger. It makes you wonder if it's inherently British to be a bit more reserved about those kinds of needs.
Interesting.
I mean, have you ever heard an American say peckish?
Now that you mention it, not really. It seems to be very deeply rooted in that British culture.
Yeah, it's fascinating how a single word can be like a window into a culture's way of thinking, isn't it?
It really is.
So we encourage you to try out peckish if you're ever feeling that gentle nudge of hunger. You might just surprise yourself with how satisfying it is to use.
Now let's shift gears to something that might feel a bit more universal, even if it can be tricky at times.
Okay.
The wonderful world of phrasal verbs.
Ah, yes.
And the one we're tackling today is a real workhorse, sort out.
Oh, phrasal verbs. They're like the puzzles of the English language.
They are.
But mastering them
Oh, yeah.
can be so rewarding.
Absolutely. And sort out is such a versatile phrase.
Okay.
You can think of it as like bringing order to chaos,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more than just tidying up your desk or organizing your sock drawer.
Right. It's about resolving any kind of tricky situation.
Exactly. Let's say you have a disagreement with a friend.
Mm-hmm.
You sit down, you talk it through, and by the end, you've sorted it out.
You sorted it out.
Or maybe your finances are a mess.
Right.
You create a budget, track your spending, and boom, you've sorted out your finances.
Love it. Our source gives another great example. There were some issues with the project, but we managed to sort them out by the end of the day.
There you go.
That feeling of relief
Yes.
when you've untangled a problem and found a solution, that's the essence of sort out.
It really is. And what's fascinating is how this seemingly modern phrase
Right.
has roots that go back centuries. The word sort comes from the Latin sortum,
Okay.
meaning kind or lot. It's like this ancient concept of categorization
Wow.
embedded in the way we use sort out today.
That's incredible. It's amazing how language carries these echoes of the past, isn't it?
It is.
But for me, the real power of sort out is that feeling of control,
Mm-hmm.
of taking charge and making things right.
Mm.
What about you?
Well, let me think.
What's a situation in your life that you'd love to sort out, either literally or figuratively?
Hmm.
We invite you to ponder that while we move on to our next word. Sometimes life throws these curveballs at us that end up being like, not home runs, but definitely unexpected opportunities.
Oh, you're talking about those blessings in disguise,
Yeah.
the things that initially feel like setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately lead us to something better.
Yeah.
It's a concept that really resonates across cultures and time periods, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's
Right.
like that saying, when one door closes, another one opens.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes we're so focused on that door that slams shut
Right.
that we don't even notice that new one swinging open.
That's a great point, and our source material highlights this perfectly
Okay.
with this example of someone losing their job.
Oh, yeah?
It's devastating, no doubt.
Of course.
But in this case, it led that person to start their own business,
Right.
which turned out to be even more successful and fulfilling.
Yeah, it's a classic example of how what feels like a failure can actually be a catalyst for growth and change.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's interesting to consider the origins of this phrase.
Okay.
It can be traced back to the 18th century,
Wow.
specifically to the writings of James Hervey,
Okay.
who was an English clergyman and writer.
Yep.
He used it in his meditations, reflecting on how God often works in mysterious ways, turning adversity into something positive.
That adds such a new layer of depth to the phrase, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just a catchy saying.
Right.
It's a reminder that even when things seem really bleak,
Yeah.
there might be a hidden purpose or a greater good at play.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need a little time and perspective to actually see it.
Speaking of perspective, sometimes we need to be wary of getting caught up in the excitement of the moment.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which brings us to our next phrase, jumping on the bandwagon. It's something we see all the time, especially in this age of social media and viral trends.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone wants to be part of the in crowd, to feel like they're in the know.
Yeah.
But as we all know, trends can be fleeting.
So fleeting?
One minute it's all the rage, and the next minute it's yesterday's news.
Exactly. Our source material gives a very relatable example. The frenzy surrounding a new phone release.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, everyone's clamoring to get their hands on it.
Right.
Fueled by influencer hype and that fear of missing out.
Yeah.
But do they really need that new phone?
Right.
Or are they just caught up in this bandwagon effect?
That's such a great question to ask ourselves, isn't it?
It is.
Because sometimes jumping on the bandwagon can be harmless fun.
Yeah.
Like joining in on a viral dance challenge or trying a new recipe that everyone's raving about.
Exactly.
But other times, it can lead us to make decisions without really thinking critically about what's best for us.
And historically, the phrase has some rather amusing origins.
Okay.
We often use it figuratively now.
Yeah.
But it actually comes from the world of 19th century American circuses.
Right.
Imagine a parade rolling through town.
Okay.
At the center is the bandwagon, this brightly decorated wagon carrying the band. As the music played and the excitement built, people would literally jump onto the bandwagon to join the fun.
So it literally meant hopping on board with something that seemed exciting and popular.
Precisely. It's such a vivid image that helps us understand why the phrase is still so relevant today. We're still drawn to that sense of belonging, of being part of something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
But the key is to be discerning about which bandwagons we choose to jump on.
Absolutely. Because sometimes a bandwagon is heading towards something truly positive and impactful.
Right.
Like a movement for social justice or a campaign to raise awareness for a worthy cause. And in those cases, jumping on board can be such a powerful way to contribute and make a difference.
Absolutely. But other times, that bandwagon might be driven by fleeting trends, hype, or even misinformation.
Yeah.
And in those cases, it's essential to pause and consider whether it aligns with our values and beliefs, whether it's something we genuinely want to be a part of.
It's about being mindful, not blindly following the crowd. And that's a valuable lesson no matter what kind of bandwagon we're considering. But I'm curious what stands out to you, our listener, about this idiom. Have you ever found yourself caught up in a bandwagon frenzy? For better or for worse? We invite you to reflect on that as we wrap up our deep dive into these fascinating words and phrases. Wow, it's amazing how much we can actually learn
I know, right?
from just a handful of words and phrases.
It is. And I think what we've explored today kind of highlights a crucial point.
Okay.
Language is so much more than just a way to communicate. It's a reflection of who we are, where we come from, and how we see the world.
That's beautifully put. It's like each word has a story, a history, a whole cultural context within it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As we become more in tune with these subtleties,
Right.
we don't just become better communicators, but we become more insightful observers
I love it.
of the human experience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with today?
I think it's this. Never underestimate the power of a single word or phrase. Take the time to savor language, to explore its nuances, to appreciate those little quirks.
Right.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
I completely agree. And who knows, you might even find yourself feeling a bit peckish to learn more. ready to sort out any lingering questions you might have about the English language.
And if you find yourself tempted to jump on the bandwagon
Yes.
of the latest linguistic trend, remember to do so with a critical eye and a sense of humor.
Well said. It's been a joy exploring these words with you. And to our listener, keep those dictionaries handy and those ears open. There's a whole world of fascinating words and phrases out there, just waiting to be discovered. Until next time, happy language learning, everyone.